Okay. Fucking yeah. I think the issue was I put the latency at like ultra low, so it's like oh it's kind of bugging out. They're trying to catch up.
That piggy snout.
I'm sorry, sir. You're not going to be able to eat the piggy mac and cheese unless you wear your piggy snout.
But I'm not gonna eat it.
Well, then I should probably let you know we're going to have to charge you for it anyway. I mean, that's non-refundable, and that's Frankie's policy. It's $20 if you eat it with the piggy snout on, and it's $275 if you don't. There you go. Now you look like a little piggy.
Oh, Marvin, you look so silly.
Please shut up. Can we just get our food to go?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, sir. We don't do to-go boxes here. Frankie doesn't believe in that.
Oh my god.
So you're going to have to eat all this right here with your little piggy snout. Go ahead, little piggy.
I don't think I'm hungry anymore.
No, go ahead. You got to eat it right here. That's a good pig. Good pig.
Get back here! Listen, if you delete the video, I promise not to tell your dad everything that you've done.
No! Stay back! No!
Supposedly!
No, stay away! No!
You're making a mess!
No!
Supposedly!
No! Daddy, look what he did! He shattered balls all over the kitchen with his hammer!
No, I didn't! You're setting the filthy rotten a liar!
No, I'm not!
Get back here!
Oh, I'm so full.
Oh, me too.
Ooh, this little piggy's about to pop. That's some pig. Well, here's your bill.
Let me see this.
Yeah, I just want to let you know Frankie doesn't believe in tipping, so a 75% gratuity has already been added.
75% gratuity?
But you can feel free to tip me more if you're very satisfied with my service.
What?
75% gratuity. Bro, it's like might as well you're paying basically double. You're basically paying double, bro.
What have you done to deserve that?
Well, I actually did a lot today, sir. I carried the food from the kitchen all the way to your table, I explained the menu, and I explained the rules.
What? $2,700 for a meal? Why is it so expensive?
Well, because she ordered the chicken Alfredo pasta and the kibbe steak.
What? $400 for fucking grape juice?
Well, it's not just any grape juice, sir. This is Diet Welch's Grape Juice, 2023. That's a very fine year. This is really top shelf stuff.
I ordered the piggy mac and cheese. It's only $20, but this is too expensive.
How will you be paying today, sir? Cash, card, or kidney? Or shall we just call the police?
Get back here!
No! If you let me tase you, I'll delete the videos.
Tase me?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
You sound like SpongeBob.
Okay, fine. Now let me do it to you.
Guys, look, he's crazy. He's trying to tase me with a taser.
That's not true. He's lying, Marvin. You know what? I'm out of here.
Oh.
Marvin, I can't believe you sold half your kidney to pay for tonight's dinner.
That was the only way we could fucking pay for it, because you ordered two of the most expensive things on the menu.
Marvin, you're still wearing your piggy nose.
Oh, I'm gonna wear it proudly because I had to pay all that money for dinner.
Hey, Daddy, Uncle Lewis tried to touch me.
What?
Yeah, and then he ran out of the house, and he threw a bunch of bowls down in the kitchen, and then he took a hammer to the drywall.
What?
Yeah, I have it all on video right here.
Oh my God, baby, look at this. What? Lewis is deranged.
Yeah, that's a deranged man, Daddy. That's a cry for help.
Oh my, he is not allowed back in this house again. Look at all the damage he's done. He's on the hammer. He tried to tase you.
I know, Daddy. It's crazy.
Hold on, let me call the cops.
Hey there, somebody call the cops? Oh, look who it is! It's the little piggy bitch from dinner! How you doing, little piggy? You got a belly full of food, you little piggy? Oh, that little piggy belly's all full of mac and cheese, isn't it, you little pot-belly piggy? Look at you, little piggy bitch, bitch-ass piggy.
SML. No, they're not like they used to, man. They used to be like so good back in the day, but they fell off, man. It's like once in a while they'll fucking they'll make a good thing. Why can't Steven Universe exist?
To this right here. Now, just looking at these, you might not be able to tell what they are, but they're actually x-rays of the crystal gems from the show. And I don't know about you, but do you notice anything that's missing here? And by anything, I mean everything. There's nothing here, and that's weird because of how x-rays work. X-ray imaging shoots, well, x-rays, a type of non-visible light, at an object. Depending on how dense that object is, it'll absorb more or less of these x-rays, changing how bright or dark it'll appear here in the final image. For example, in a human body, our super dense skeletons absorb way more X-rays than our squishy skin and organs. So, X-rays generally only pick up on the bones and not everything else. If our crystal gems were just really big bodies of super dense rocks, like real garnets or amethysts, they'd be glowing like a Christmas tree here in this X-ray. Instead, the only parts of them that are actually visible are the gemstones embedded in their bodies. And amethyst's lunch.
I love eating. Feels weird.
Since most of their bodies are completely invisible on an X-ray, that means that whatever the crystal gems are actually made of must be pretty undense. That's not a real word, but you get it. Thankfully, another one of those cartoons.
Well, they're made of light. That's literally explain it in this show. Oh, I'm pretty sure she's gonna explain it, but yeah, they're made of light. They're basically made of like dense light.
Network YouTube videos gives us a pretty big hint at what those undense things might be.
Our bodies are actually projections generated by our gemstone. Think of it like a hologram, but with mass.
More like Jim and the Holograms, am I right?
No.
Am I just old for making that reference? Anyway,
Yeah,
this
you
means
are.
that outside of their gemstones, the bodies of the crystal gems are just kind of like big balls of light. I mean, I do guess that's about as least dense as you can get, so at least it fits earlier what we said about the X-rays. But there's a problem with this whole idea of holograms with mass, and that's the whole with mass part. See, a hologram like what they're talking about here in Steven Universe is just an image created from light, and light is one of the few things in the entire universe that doesn't have mass. So, what's happening here? How is that possible? Well, while light itself doesn't have mass, you can convert light into mass, and vice versa. Light is just a form of energy, and you can convert any energy into mass with what's known as the mass-energy equivalence. You're probably more familiar with this in formula form since it's
No.
arguably the most famous formula in all of science. E equals
MC
MC
squared.
And
Ah.
hey, what do you know? But earlier, when we learned that the process of making gems involves them sucking energy out of the environment, this is what they were doing. They're sapping that energy from the world around them so they can convert it into mass to create their humanoid bodies. So the real question here is, how much energy are these gems using for these holographic bodies? Well, for that, we actually get to use this famous equation. So let's break it down. Energy, E, equals the mass of the object, M, multiplied by the speed of light, C, squared. Thankfully, the speed of light is a known quantity, around 300 million meters per second. So if we can get the mass of one of the crystal gems, we can calculate the amount of energy they would have needed to harvest from the Earth to create their humanoid body. Unfortunately, we don't ever really get any specifics in the series about how much they weigh. We're never explicitly told, so we're gonna have to use some of our old school patented theorist math. Let's use Garnet as our example, shall we? In the sequel series, we're told that Steven is 5'6", or about 168 centimeters tall. Using this promotional poster for the new series and our old pal pixel measurements, we can then figure out that Garnet would therefore be 7'1", or about 216 centimeters tall.
A giant woman.
7'1"
sense.
is obviously very tall for a woman. In fact, that would mean Garnet would be as tall as the tallest currently living woman in the entire world, Rumesa Gelgi. Gelgi reportedly weighs about 198 pounds, or about 98 kilos. That feels a bit low for Garnet, so instead let's look at something else to find her mass. The healthy BMI range for someone at 7'1" tall is between 190.1 and 256.9 pounds. If we assume that Garnet is smack dab in the middle of that, that would mean that her mass would be somewhere around 223.5 pounds, or about 101.3 kilograms. And if we throw that mass into E equals MC squared, we get that the amount of energy in Garnet should be 9 quintillion joules. That's equivalent to the amount of energy put out by the entire global nuclear power industry in an entire year.
Shit.
In fact, that's the amount of energy that hits the entire Earth from the sun every 72 seconds. But one thing is, this alien rock lady might not weigh the exact same as that height. So what if it was made of, well, Garnet? What if Garnet wanted to be this size but weigh true to her gemstone self? How much energy would that take? The gem has a density approximately 4 times as dense as a human, so that means a Garnet-sized block of Garnet weigh 4 times as much as a human version. That would then quadruple the energy we're talking about here to over 6 quintillion joules. That's the amount that all of humanity consumes in about 3 weeks. 3 weeks! So yeah, yeah, to say the gyms are safe, energy is a bit of an understatement. No wonder they felt the need to apologize.
We understand that gym production was extremely damaging to the Earth. We deeply regret our involvement in this process.
As far as we figure out where the crystal gems came from and what they're made of, the only thing left for us to figure out is how do they work? As I mentioned, the first creator called the gems solar robots. On the surface of things, that would make you assume under the hood, gems are more automaton than human. That isn't quite right. Pointed out, the gems get their initial power sucking in the planet that they're on and absorbing light that they can then turn into mass and energy. But on top of that, we've seen several instances throughout the series where the gems are subject to very normal humans. They can get hurt and die. They cry.
Don't cry, Bo.
They can get food poisoning in burritos. So, they're literally robots, but they're obviously not like any ordinary form of life either. So, what the heck are they?
Androids?
Well, one option could be that they're just another type of life form. One that scientists have theorized about existing for quite some time. A silicon-based life form. See, here on Earth, all life is what's known as carbon-based. That's because all of the molecules make life as we know it, whether it be DNA or plants or cute, adorable cats from internet videos, all use carbon as their backup. Why does that happen? Carbon atoms, unlike other elements like nitrogen or oxygen, are able to make up to 4 bonds with atoms. Those 4 bonds are necessary if you want to make the sort of chemical you need to sustain life. Carbon is the element that can make those 4 bonds. Silicon atoms, which is located just below carbon on the periodic table, are also able to make up to 4 bonds with other atoms. That means that, in theory, in molecular theory, life could exist with silicon as its backbone instead of carbon. And remind me, what are real-world gemstones like amethyst and garnet made of?
Silicon.
Oh yeah, silicon oxides. And since silicon is also used in the production of computers and electronics, to us, a living being made from silicon would seem like a robot, just like Rebecca Sugar described. Similar enough to feel like life, but different enough to feel alien. Oh, and just a little aside to sort of nip in the bud, I know that pearls aren't actually silicon-based. They're made from calcium carbonate, so they're based on carbon. That being said, pearls are created in mollusks, so animals like clams and oysters. So if there are any sort of similar creatures that evolved on the homeworld, the crystal gem, silicon is their molecular backbone, well, those creatures would almost certainly create pearls using silicon instead of carbon. Just wanted that way. Using a bit of in-show lore, a bit of scientific understanding, and a bit of math, we've only figured out how the crystal gems work, but also how they theoretically could exist. But there is one thing here that's still a bit of a loose end, because there is someone in the show that perhaps shouldn't exist. Steven frickin' Universe himself. Yeah, I mean, the boy difficult time, being alive, because Steven isn't a Norman. He's the child of a human father and a gem mother.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes, Ian?
What if a gem is half human?
Good question. And the answer is... not good, my man. Not good. See, just because silicon and carbon-based life could both exist doesn't mean that those two kinds of life would be compatible at all. I mean, heck, just look at the ordinary life here on this planet, all of which is carbon-based. The fact that all here on Earth use DNA and use the same kind of molecules, you can't do stuff like create a cat-dog hybrid, despite what the folks at Nickelodeon want you to believe. And the hybrids that do exist in nature, like they're often stable and can't reproduce because of mismatch between us. Now, imagine doing your best to create a stable, living creature with the fundamentally different building blocks in carbon and silicon-based life. I mean, for one, since silicon is lower on the periodic table, it's larger in size than carbon. That means that even if some molecules were as similar as they could possibly be, the size difference would make it almost impossible for the molecules to do their jobs in a human body properly. The fact of the matter is that Steven, as a half-human, half-gem hybrid, probably shouldn't even exist. And if he did exist, who knows what combinations would result in trying to mix the genetic code of completely incompatible species. And you know what? Who knows this? Many times throughout the franchise, especially in the sequel series, we've seen that Steven is unstable. In one episode, for instance, we see Steven start randomly glowing pink and changing sizes at will. And in that same episode, we actually get a look at his X-ray, and it's quite a bit different from the other gems. Obviously, you can see, well, his actual skeleton, but notice anything wrong with it? It's cracked, broken. These are scars from his previous adventures, scars that haven't been able to heal. There's a good chance that the normal healing processes that you or me would have just don't work if you're a mix of carbon and silicon-based life. While the whole story of how Steven's gem mother and human father met is adorable,
yeah, but in the context of the show, they wouldn't do it in terms of compatibility. It was more like emotional and shit like that. It wasn't really talking in love stance. It was really talking about like by freaking children and shit like that.
What they created, their darling baby boy, he's slowly falling apart, and the crystal gems need.
And also his size and his unstableness is basically on his extreme emotion. If he didn't feel any of those extreme emotions, he'll be pretty much okay.
To recognize this right away and start coming up with solutions fast before Steven wastes away into tiny fry bits. In fact, if they ever bring this franchise back again, I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the big driving factors for the conflict. But hey, that's just a theory.
A film theory. Next, the Omnitrix is destroying Ben 10 slowly. Speaking of Minecraft, let's watch some Minecraft theory.
Pourquoi ça nous prend du Tide chez nous, au Québec? Parce que les bleuets. Parce que les 4 roues.
Why is the Minecraft ghast always crying? Since we've been able to wander into the fiery depths of the Nether, so too have the ghasts had tears streaming down their face. But today, we uncover the reason. Hello Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that reminds you to stay hydrated. Sure, me and the Nell is only once again here. In the most recent Minecraft Live event, revealed to us some upcoming features, namely a new variant of the Nether's iconic ghast. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the ghast, or you've just been too afraid to get up close to one, ghasts are these loony, fishy, ghost-like creatures that roam the Nether. If they catch sight of you, get ready to run. They'll launch exploding fireballs that can destroy everything around you. These guys are just so strange, and so long, I've wondered about what their lore is. They just never really had an make a theory. That is today, because now we're given a new kind of ghast. Only this time, it's smiling. Immediately, my theorists began to take ghasts behaving differently living in the overworld. Why are ghasts so darn sad in the first place? Did they watch The Notebook again? Gets me every time. And of course, where do they fit into the ever-expanding lore of this game? Well, fear not, theorists, because this new update does everything we need to understand their history. So grab this angled harnesses. We're about to discuss Minecraft. Let's take a look at where we're starting from. What do we know about us? Or at least, what do we think we know about them? Considering these guys live in Minecraft's version of H-Double Hockey Sticks, it's obvious idea with these guys are ghosts the Nether. Angry took their life. And while that could be an option, it's the overworld how souls work in Nether. We talked about this in a number of past theories, but the reason we understand is because the souls of those who die end up being absorbed into the ground and work like an energy environment. That means no souls are flying around to try to haunt you. Then the Minecraft movie trailer came out and showed us that they don't even look that ghostly in reality. They're more like these fleshy hot air balloons, which is truly cursed, although not that much more cursed than the general art style. Hey-oh! The only other thing we really had to go off of was one of the achievements you can collect in the game. It's called Uneasy Alliance, and it requires you to rescue ghast from the Nether, bring it safe home to the earth, and then kill it. This is not an easy task, but the key tell is the phrase, bring it safely home. These 4 words sent the fanbase and myself into a theory frenzy for years, because it implies that the ghast's real home is the overworld. It's a really fascinating idea. It's just out of this one quote, there wasn't really any evidence to back it up. There have been no sign in the overworld that Ghast ever existed there, like bone structures or item drops hidden in chests like we've seen with previous mobs. It also shoots fireballs, which feels much more at home in the fiery hex space of the Nether than in the somewhat peaceful and natural overworld. But the big reason I don't think the Ghast can come from the overworld is the main thing we worry about with any franchise: the timeline. Minecraft Legends is the earliest part of the Minecraft timeline as we know it. At the very start of the game, there are no ancient builders and there are no piglin or nether balls. Those all come about during the events of Legends. But you catch it right in the background of this shot: a regular sad Ghast floating around in the Nether only just as the ancient builders arrived, just as the piglins were first crossing into the overworld. Meaning the Ghasts had to exist in the Nether before any kind of cross-dimensional travel existed, and therefore they would have had no way of traveling between the overworld and the Nether prior to this moment. The phrase "bring them safely home" isn't referring to them being brought safely to their home, but to us, the traveler who has ventured into a dangerous land, keeping ourselves safe as we bring the Ghasts back to our home. Although that doesn't mean that the achievement can't be used for our lore purposes. We've just been looking at the wrong part of it. We should have been focusing on is the word rescue, and the reason why becomes more clear thanks to what we're seeing in the teasers for this new update. There's a new block called a dried Ghast. It's small, it's grumpy, and it looks just like the baby Ghast that you could have as a companion in Minecraft Dungeons, which were so cute. I like adorable little guys. Sue me. Anyway, these guys can be found in the Soul Sand Valleys of the Nether. One of them, take them back to the overworld and then put it in water for 5 days. It turns upside down and they come to life. They little. These Ghasts start roaming around the overworld, and to help them grow into full-size Ghasts, give them something I didn't expect: snowballs. Clearly, water, and especially cold water, is essential to mobs' survival. So much so that the Ghastling will imprint on the player who revives them.
So it's gonna somewhat imprint over players or mobs and just follow them around a bit.
But surely that contradicts what I've just been saying about the Ghast not being from the overworld, but instead being a Nether native. The Nether has no water whatsoever. In fact, it's so hot that the water completely evaporates. And this typically would be a theory-breaking contradiction, if it weren't for another theory we made a few years ago about how the Nether wasn't always the fiery landscape we know today. It once had an ice age. Hey you! You're not using a VPN! And I know you're not, because if you were truly protected online by our sponsor NordVPN, I wouldn't be able to just barge into this video. Thankfully, I'm not a hacker trying to get your data. I'm here with a great deal to booms thanks to NordVPN's threat protection. Movies before Beyond the Spider-Verse. Oh, and that great deal. And if you don't like it, NordVPN
I already have NordVPN. Thanks for the ad.
Ice must have existed at some point in the Nether in order for the basalt deltas to form. Not only that, but the streaky texture of soul soil looks remarkably similar to the texture we see on rocks and soil in our world after glaciers have passed over them. Once again, implying that there was an ice and or water source at some point in the Nether's Soul Sand Valleys. And would you like to take a guess as to where the Ghasts spawn in the Nether? Yep, the basalt deltas and the Soul Sand Valleys. The Ghasts live in areas where there used to be water, keeping them hydrated, and thanks to the Nether's previously colder climate, climate, there was plenty of snow and ice to keep them cool and refreshed. But sadly, as we see in Legends, the piglins industrialized, creating weapons, armor, and bastions in order to conquer more worlds, heating up the atmosphere through greenhouse gases and turning the Nether into the torched, barren land it is now. The ice melted, the water dried up, it literally is. By bringing it to the overworld, we have rescued it from its suffering and brought it to a more forgiving climate where it can thrive. Wait, what's the matter, little guy? It's okay, you're in the overworld now. You're safe. Oh, him? That's just Larry the Sniffer. He's not gonna hurt you. At least, not anymore. Yeah, sorry friends, I was really hoping for a happy ending to this Minecraft theory, but as I looked more into the dried ghast block, I realized something truly horrifying about where we find them. You see, dried ghast blocks can be found in the Soul Sand Valleys, which makes a lot of sense with everything else we've looked at so far. The Soul Sand Valleys are where ghasts spawn, and it's where there used to be a water supply. But in this teaser, we are being shown that the dried ghasts appear in a far more specific location than just the biome. They are shown to be found inside fossil structures. I actually theorized about these fossils in my very first Minecraft theory as host. By combining these fossils from the Nether with the fossils from the overworld, we discovered that the fossil structures were a perfect match for giant prehistoric sniffers that existed years before the ancient builders came to the Nether and took them back to the overworld. If the dried ghast blocks are being found inside the bones of these giant ancient sniffers, that can only really mean one thing. These adorable baby ghasts were inside the sniffers when their bodies decayed, because they were food for the ancient sniffer. In our sniffer video, we actually theorized that the sniffer originally lived in the Soul Sand Valleys, where there was plenty of seeds for them to dig up and eat. But as the land dried up, they moved to the warped forest to find another food source. We see this kind of behavior in most herbivores in real life. If their food source disappears in their natural habitat, they will move to find a new environment that contains the same or a similar food source. However, this isn't the only approach a species can take. There have been some cases in prehistoric times where rather than finding a new habitat with the same food source, herbivores would change their diet in order to survive and begin feeding on other animals instead. Thylacoleo, also known as the marsupial lion, was believed to originally be a herbivore, but as the land of Australia became more deserted, vegetation grew scarce. Additionally, large carnivores were dying out. This left room for the marsupial lion to become an apex predator and start feeding off of smaller animals in the area. Similarly, while some of our giant ancient herbivore sniffers may have gone on to the greener pastures of the warped forest to give them that teal and red color scheme we know today, others chose to stay in their natural habitat and instead find a new food source, one that was weaker and also struggling with the recent change in its environment. The baby ghasts were constantly in pain, trying desperately to survive the harsh climate, and eventually they would become nothing more than a dehydrated block. Easy pickings. But while picking off weakened ghaslings may have been an easier food supply, it clearly wasn't enough. Eventually, the carnivorous sniffer would die out. Their bodies decayed, leaving nothing but bone and whatever remnants they had left inside their digestive tract. A small, very weak, and dehydrated ghast, who now waits patiently for someone to come along and save them. That, my friends, is the story of the ghast, a once docile creature who lived peacefully in the frozen lands of the Nether Ice Age, now desperately trying to survive in a barren wasteland, where the water is gone, their mere existence is pain, and
Alright. Thank you for more from that. Now it's time for Shonen Showdown. Yes, sir. Shonen Showdown. Is One Piece power scale called you out? I don't really care about power scaling, but if someone called you out, let's hear it. Who called you out, bro? Name and shame them. Rob, name and shame them, man.
Yo, what's going on, guys? So I actually had somebody on TikTok tag me in the top 10 facts of One Piece power scaling twice. So now there's 20 facts that we need to review, and we really need to know, are these truly facts? Or is this person just chatting? Let's take a look. No one on God Valley was in their prime except for Rocks and maybe Garlic.
Okay, I don't really care about power scaling. You gonna watch that shit? Fuck out of here. I'm gonna fucking watch that. I don't care about power scaling. Fuck out of here. You're gonna fucking watch power scaling? I don't give a fuck about power scaling.
If this contestant can beat this team in a 3v3, I'm going to give them $100. In this video, you're going to see the luckiest, unluckiest, and craziest anime dice rolls to battle against one another. But there's a catch. We get some special rules that will unfold as the video goes on.
Let's see what happens. Jacob, Ren, are y'all ready? Alright, let's see what the first game is. Alright, so the first one is going to be a 1v1. You're getting one dice block each, alright? In 3, 2, 1. Okay. Jacob, you go first. Go ahead.
10-10.
Okay. No, oh my god.
Jeez, Jesus Christ, the most useless, the fucking useless duo. Fuck.
So, Ino versus 10-10, you guys were kind of discussing going back and forth. What do you think?
I'm about to give it to 10-10.
Why?
I'll be real. If 10-10 doesn't give Ino any space to do her jutsu, I don't think Ino...
Here's the thing, though. I think 10-10 will win because 10-10 is more of a combat person than Ino. Ino, yes, she can fight, but she's better for support than someone that's more assault. Although 10-10 is more of also a support person, but I think that she has a more versatile offensive arsenal since obviously she's a weapons master. So I think it makes sense for 10-10 to win it more than Ino. But both these girls are irrelevant. Who cares?
Can do it. That's valid. What do you think? I'm going to same with him as well. Okay. See, I'm saying if Ino finds enough space to do the mind control jutsu, it's a wrap. But they bring up a good point. If 10-10 is super aggressive, gives Ino no space, you might have to give it to 10-10.
Man, I'm thinking Ino. It looks like 10-10 got 1-0. Let's go. It is a 2v2. Now you guys have to grab 2 each. Go. All right, let's see what's going on here. Ren, you go first. Ooh.
Yamamoto and Kaguya. Fuck the very well. Kaguya is one of the strongest characters in Naruto, and so is Yamamoto as well. Crazy,
man. Jacob, go ahead.
Ikaku. He lost.
All right, we know. All right, 1-1. The last round. Winner takes it. Ready? Another 2v2. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Jacob, you go first.
Bonnie.
Jewelry Bonnie. Bonnie, all right.
And Manchu.
All right, she's a great healer, though. All right, go ahead, Ren. Rukia.
Bro, you already lost. Rukia can smack both of them. You already lost.
All right. Yeah. Oh! Hey, man. Yo.
It's a pretty clear cut. So.
All right, so it looks like we're going with Ren. Going on to the next round. Sorry, Jacob. Listen, man. You had a great game.
Win it.
I got you. Nika, awesome. You guys ready? Oh, whoa. Oh, no smoke. We're going to see what the versus is first. 3v3. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Pika, you will start first. Ooh,
Kakashi. Luffy. Kakashi, Luffy, and Ino.
It's Ino. Special ability. You can force your opponent to re-roll one of their dice blocks. So you get one special, but only one special for the entire round. All right, Austin, your roll. Rukia. All right. Haku, okay. Oh,
Aizen.
Now you get to pick one that he re-rolled.
You can re-roll Aizen.
Robin.
Man. Okay, looks like Streets are saying Pika got the first round, but Pika has used her special. Now you have a special left, and Tika doesn't. All right, 1-0. It's another 3v3. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh. Austin goes first.
Ishigo. Okay. Chad. Okay, he's the Bleach gang. And Rukia. Ooh.
You can add 1 dice block, man. You got a 4th dice block. Oh.
Hagoromo.
As you can see, he got 3 Bleach characters, which is a special. He gets an extra dice block. This team is looking stacked right now. Pika, good luck. Kari, okay. Oh, that's
Valkyrie.
That's Valkyrie from One Piece.
Kakashi, yeah, you lost. You lost. You lost. Just bring fucking Ichigo by himself. You smack all 3 of them. Fuck out of here.
You got the MC,
Game over.
and then you got a god. Yeah, Austin's team is. We say Austin, Team Austin? Yeah. Okay. All right, it's 1-1, final round. Let's go. 2, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Dang, y'all left some heat though. Pika, go ahead. Oh, Chad. Chad's not bad though. Oh.
Con.
Oh, Chad and Cone. Here you go, Team Pika.
Hard to beat, y'all.
Go ahead, Austin.
Chopper.
wait, hold on. We might have a close match actually. Go ahead, Austin.
Lola.
Yo. All right, so what are we saying? Huddle up, man. What are we saying?
The only options are Chopper and Chad versus each other. The other two are a lot.
You got Buff Cone, and then Chad.
But you got Buff Cone, Monster Point.
Those two, I would say, listen, you might hit me for it, hot take, equal. Chad is winning that fight.
I think so too.
Obviously, it's Chad. Like.
No, I love Chopper, but Chad, especially, that was in your Blood War Chad, he's leveled up, you know? So after talking amongst the team, it looks like we're going to have to go with Chad and Cone for the W. Pika. Next up, we got myself, Rob, versus Parry. 1v1. 3, 2, 1, go. Yo! All right, you know what? Go ahead, Parry. Go ahead.
Sanji.
Hey, good games, all right?
Luffy. 10-10.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to talk about it.
Yep.
I'm gonna give it Sanji.
Here we go. Thank you. Thank you. 3, 2, 1, go.
Rob 6'3" for what? Getting boxed out by a 5-foot woman.
Oh my God.
Rob, your turn.
Rob is what?
For what? Getting boxed out by. 6'3" getting boxed
Oh,
out by a
6'3".
5-foot woman.
Oh my God.
Rob, your turn.
Garp. Ooh. We got Garp. Roger. Okay.
That's a 2 though. That's a 2. That's a pair.
You got a special.
All right, Connie.
Karen. Ichigo.
Okay.
You already win.
You
know.
Okay. And Tamari. All right. I know who you re-rolling.
You got first you guys Ichigo and nothing.
What do you mean?
Instead of me picking you.
No, I'm picking.
Damn you!
Re-roll Ichigo, please. And who should I re-roll?
Of course, the middle one.
All right, I'll re-roll Roger. You re-roll Ichigo.
Naruto.
Please.
Nothing. Nothing. He gets Ikaku.
Not Ikaku, huh? Yo, why is it me? Why is it me? Hold on. Ikaku is still kind of, you know me?
What?
Look, I got Garp. Hold on.
He's not even getting close to Varian mode.
I'm also gonna say Ikaku Madarame going Bankai. I'm gonna go Rob.
Ren is going with Rob.
Yeah, come on, Ren.
He's a Bleach fan.
What do you think? I gotta stick with Naruto. It's 1 vote for Rob, 1 vote for Parry.
Okay.
I'm going with Naruto.
Of course you're going with Naruto.
What do you think?
First of all, their fits are better. Second of all, tall. Third of all,
You know who this is?
fourth of all,
This is so crazy.
She's not even trying. She's just saying, oh, they look weird. They look old. So therefore you lose. Take the mic away from her. She's useless here.
Oh, 3 for Perry, 1 for Rob. All right, Jacob, what you feeling?
Y'all my last hope.
Naruto.
Oh my god!
Yo!
Jared, it doesn't matter, but
You want to give him, condolence points?
Garp the fist.
I'm giving it to Naruto.
Naruto it is.
Man, highway robbery, man. They sleeping on these cops. Next up, we have Kumar versus Jared. Let's go. It's a 2v2. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay.
All right, I'm going to let Jared have first roll.
All right, let's go, Jared. Oh, Tamari?
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Ruki and Tamari.
Rukia.
All right, here's my first roll.
Haku.
Okay.
Ooh, that one hurt.
Mangeku.
What is your
That's
best
funny.
argument for your
That's hilarious. One Naruto, one Bleach each. That's freaking jokes. I know. Who would win, Haku or Tamari? I think Haku would win against Tamari. But I will. I don't know who win. I don't really know much about Bleach, so I can't really say who would win between Mangeku or Lugia.
selection?
Haku's jutsu is pretty, it can confuse the enemies pretty well. I think she's amassed.
We're not talking about Haku. What's Rangiku do?
Rangiku?
See, he don't even know. All right, let's go over to Jared. How you feeling about your squad?
I feel like it's good. Tamari, I feel like would be pretty good counter to Haku.
Okay,
In my opinion, with her Winjutsu, Bankai is fire.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
I think Rukia's Bankai is crazy. I think I'm Team Jared on that.
I just got off the phone with Ryan and said Rukia.
Okay.
Say Rukia.
Rukia.
Y'all giving it?
All right, Jared is getting the first one. It is 1-0 right now. Let's see for the next round. Another 2v2. In 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, here we go. First roll.
Oh,
Warcree.
But I do not know.
Oh.
Uehara.
Okay.
Chad?
Okay.
Get smacked by Uehara. Yuhabak. You lost. You lost,
Jack,
bro.
if you wanted to, you could force him to re-roll one of those. If you want to. You don't have to, but it's a special.
You have Yuhabak, bro.
I'm not gonna
He's choosing to forego the reroll.
So,
No, because he gets freaking Yuhabak. Who's really unkillable unless he has a freaking sword. So, can't really do anything there.
Okay, all right. So what are we thinking, y'all?
Yuhabak.
Yeah.
Give it to Jared.
All right, let's move it on, guys. All right,
I mean, I know it's tough out here, but keep fighting. Stand proud. Team Jared, let's go! All right, so we are now in the semifinals. Ren versus Pika. Let's go. A 3v3. 3, 2, 1, go! Oh! Oh my God! The mic came off.
Back it up on me.
Pika, you roll first. All right.
Come on.
One of those rolls today.
Zoro.
Okay.
Luffy.
Wait. Luffy and Zoro add 1 dice block with a reroll. Oh.
This is actually mad sexist, is what this is.
It's mad sexy.
Go ahead. Luffy and Zoro special. Oh.
Hashirama. Oh, fuck.
Okay.
Can I be honest? I don't think I need to roll at all.
You got heat on it though. It's possible.
We got 2 other rounds.
Yeah. Fight hard. All right.
Rukia.
Rukia really pulling for him.
Kenpachi. And Roger. Yeah, you're smacking
This
them.
squad is fire. Okay. So you have 2 Bleach characters. You can re-roll one of hers, and since she got Luffy and Zoro, she can re-roll one of yours.
Who am I re-rolling?
Kenpachi.
And who's she re-rolling? Hashirama. Okay.
Mihawk.
I got about 1 character on here that will give me 1 fighting chance, I think.
Go ahead, Ren.
Yeah.
Kaido.
Yeah.
Roger's hockey is already ridiculous. Like, yeah, Ren still gets it, man. Ren still gets it first round. Okay, here we go. Next round.
Yeah, please have Rukia.
Another 3v3. 3, 2, 1, 1, go! Look at Pika just. What's going on here? Whoa. What's going on here?
She took her time with that.
I know. Ren, you go first.
Come on, this is the.
Lola. No.
Lola, you got fucked. Nico Robin,
My demon child. Okay.
you have nothing. 10-10, you I fucking lost.
Oh, Shoji.
Uh,
Okay, Shoji. Hinata. Okay.
Come on. Go.
Chad, you have Chad, you fucking lost. You have Chad.
See the lineups here. Hinata, Chad,
It's
and
fucking.
Shoji's a very interesting squad, and you gotta scale up when it comes to Bleach characters, right? So. I think I gotta go with Pika. I think I gotta go with Pika. I think Pika got this one. Chad is just a powerhouse.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's 1-1. Are you guys ready?
Oh.
A 3v3.
I'm sick of this.
3, 2, 1, go! Oh, look at Fred's like, wait, no, I like this one more.
Chad.
Yo, I love Chad.
Kaku.
Oh,
Ishido got all.
Oh, wait, no, but you used it. All right, go ahead, Ren. Yamamoto.
Sasuke.
Sasuke and Yamamoto.
Yuha.
Oh, Lola.
My girl. My girl.
Oh, let's have a combo. All right, if we ask Ichigo versus Sasuke, I'm going Ichigo.
I am going Ichigo, but what about Yamamoto?
Yeah, because Yamamoto's Bankai. All right, as you guys can see, both lineups look great, but there can only be one winner, and we are going with Team Red.
Thank you, Lola.
Yeah, it's Yamamoto.
Oh, hold on.
Robbie, yeah, help Rob that.
Yup.
I'm coming for you.
Semifinals matchup. Parry, Jared.
Have a good game.
Let's see what it is first. It is a 3v3.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Look at Parry.
Taking her time.
All right, let's go, Parry.
Kenpachi.
Oh my God.
Bambita.
All right. Oh my
Hagoromo.
All right, Jared, your roll.
Okay. Madara.
My boy is
Okay.
reanimated too.
Zoro.
Ooh, okay.
And Ishigo. Oh, that's a nasty team.
I get a reroll.
You do get a reroll.
Reroll Madara.
Okay, valid. Alright, if I get Madara, I'm gonna be so happy.
Gulp.
Oh, this is OD.
I have a god.
That's OD. That's OD. Yeah. I'm going Team Parry. Yo, Sage is 6 pack? Plus the
Yeah.
Fury edges. Parry got
M.
that one. 1-0. Let's go.
1v1.
1v1. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yes. Yeah.
I want this one.
Okay. All right, your roll, sir.
You get Soifon.
Soifon's not bad, though. Soifon is not bad.
That was good.
Oh.
Hashirama versus Soifon.
It's not even a question.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Man. It's kind of tough out here. You want to talk? You want to?
No.
You don't want to talk?
I know where it's going.
All right, we got Parry moving on to the finals. We are in the finals. Parry, Ren. Let's see what happens. First game. 3v3, of course. Of course it is. 3, 2, 1, go!
Fucking wanted that one.
Oh my God!
Who goes first is the real question.
You won the dice. I'll give you the roll.
Sounds good.
Ishigo.
That's my boy.
Tamari.
Okay, the last roll.
Sakura.
Can I hold the reroll?
You can't hold the reroll till later.
First roll.
Oh man.
Manchu. Fuck is that? Kakashi. Hinata.
You also get a reroll too.
Be careful.
You know, I am gonna make you reroll Ichigo.
And I'm gonna make you reroll Kakashi.
Kakashi again.
Okay. Kakashi is choosing to stay.
I have every single MC on here. If I don't get at least one of them, I'm toast.
Oh my God. Not 10-10, man. Y'all know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Do we need to talk?
No, we don't need to talk. I mean, it's big Kakashi. It's big Kakashi.
Okay, in game 1 of the finals, we got Parry. 1-0. Huh. It's a 1v1. In 3, 2, 1, go! They have their choices already. A lot of hype going on. Who goes first?
My strategy wasn't to go for a dice with a lot of plates and a god. I'm going with all the MCs, so hopefully I get them.
Usopp.
It's crazy.
Go ahead, Red.
Oh my God.
Sakura's body, Usopp.
We're all going Sakura, right?
Yeah, it was Sakura, obviously.
1-1 for all the marbles. Let's see. 3v3. No more specials. 3, 2, 1, go!
Fucking hell!
All right, I'm gonna go first on this one.
Okay, let's go, Red.
Just a little bit of good luck. Blow on it. Bless it. I need that good luck.
Okay. Okay, let's see what Ren does. Oh!
Aizen, Zoro, and Ishigo.
Wait.
Oh. Aizen, Zoro, and Ishigo. Yo, you just have Aizen himself, and then he's already bodying them.
Wait. What the hell?
I'm doing the money spread.
I want to
Wow.
go the same way.
Money spread for real.
Oh, you're gonna do it too? Okay, good.
I wanted to do it too, but I wasn't sure we could. But you did it, so I'm doing it.
Oh man. Let's talk. One team has Ichigo and Aizen. Yeah, you were talking like, yes, Aizen is there. We do have Madara there. Also, we have to talk about Aizen has the hypnosis, right? But then Madara also has Genjutsu. So it's like, there's a lot going on. But the only thing is, Harry has a liability on her team, man.
Yeah.
Lola's not holding it down.
I would have to go with Ren.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Red.
You saying Ren?
Yeah.
Ren? You saying Pika? Okay. All right, judge's decision. As you see, this team looks crazy. This team looks great. So after, talking with everybody, I think we're gonna have to go with Ren as the champion. My man. So Ren, congratulations, man.
I did it for you. And I did it for the household.
$100 bucks.
And I did it for the family.
Yep.
Oh.
And you get the Honda.
We got a fine snack.
Congrats, bro.
Any last words?
Yeah, this is payback for last night when I gave you that one-piece car pack, and you opened up and got Odin.
You get it?
Also, Harry, I love you. That was fantastic.
That was a great last round.
That was a really good game.
Who my hug at?
If you guys want to see
That was pretty cool. But they should have more characters though, cause they should have more characters from different series. Cause they only had the big three. No, they should for next part. They should have more characters from different series. To literally only have like the big three, and that's it. No other characters though. Anyways, I think it's like what time is it? I think I'm gonna end this stream right here. Yeah, it's 1:22 my time. So I think I'm gonna end this stream. Or I can watch some Mandaria. I don't know. No, Captain Mac. Fuck Captain Mac. I wanna watch it. I wanna watch this.
What did you mean before?
What do you mean, what did I mean?
All that hinting around about the dire reasons I didn't want to help you with this.
Dyer, because you're dyeing my hair. I get it.
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Durags here. It's been a long time coming, and you intellectuals have been patient. But we're finally gonna do it. We're finally gonna discuss one of, if not Daria's most memorable episode, Die, My Darling. But before we do... I know, I just need to give some quick context. Die My Darling is Daria's season 4 finale, and unlike the finales that came before it, or really any episodes before season 4, there was quite a bit of build-up. It started in the season 3 finale where we first met Tom.
Hi, Tom.
And continued into the episode I Loathe the Parade. Throughout season 4, there were other moments similar to I Loathe the Parade where we saw Daria and Tom getting along while some friction and or misunderstanding brewed between Jane and Tom.
Hey, Daria left me a message about a Fellini Film Festival.
You gave Daria your number?
You did, so we could go rescue her from Mother-Daughter Bonding Day?
Right. I was just about your house to see where you were.
Because I'm 10 minutes late? Wow, 7 o'clock. Sorry, guess I lost track of the time.
Really, the only episode you need before going into this one is I Loathe the Parade, hence why I reviewed it. But it's important to note that what happens in Die My Darling was up season 4, especially episode 1, Fire, where a good chunk of set, right? You did it long enough. Let's do this. The episode starts at the zoo, where Jane's studying a tiger for an art project, with Trent being there as support.
Thanks for the company, Trent.
But why didn't you ask Tom or Daria?
You and I never go for rides more. We need to go for more rides.
Oh, I appreciate the sibling vibe between Jane and Trent. They do for each other as well as support each other. But yeah, Jane's not exactly front here. And you've never seen this episode before. Her looking away from while giving this facial expression is supposed to be a bit, possibly. So I've praised the voice acting for this show in the past, but watching this episode maybe it's just how well it implements the simplistic art style. These facial expressions are very simplistic, yet when combined with the delivery of the characters' lines, one can surprisingly read a lot into them. We transition to the next morning in the Morgendorfer house where Helen is getting ready for work earlier than usual, saying out loud that this is the biggest case she's ever had. The scene isn't too long, it's just Helen's role in the story. Later, we see Daria doing her usual and heading to the lane to hang out with Jane.
Hello? Oh.
Well, that's awkward. I'm not mad though. The girl both knocked and called out answering, though she certainly could give them time to respond. Still, even if Daria could have guessed these two wanted some alone time, which is unlikely, we know she doesn't understand certain dating social cues. The door opened. Oops.
Wait. Suspicious. Sorry about that. No biggie. You had to learn about kissing sometime.
Nice save, Jane. Jane shows Daria her latest painting, one of her with striped hair, which is the tiger studying earlier.
Don't you get it? The lady or the tiger? Now you don't have to choose.
Very nice. Or is it a cry for help?
Hold on, Daria. We're not quite there yet. Jane lets Daria know this is just step 1 of her project. Step 2 is dyeing stripes into Jane's actual hair, and she wants Daria to do it. The two head to the store ingredients, but Daria is predictably not being brought into it.
If you tell me one more time that you don't want to do this, I'll throw over the head of this bottle of the Sunrise Blonde.
You have no aptitude for this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that Jane's trying to get you to participate in something she knows you won't like, but then again, demonstrating I Loathe Parade, company makes a huge difference to situations. Maybe Jane just thinks the new experience will be more fun if her best friend is there.
Daria, this is the kind of activity that girls do together to cement. Don't you want to cement our friendship?
I do better with that cement.
Methinks thou doth protest too much.
Huh? Yeah, Daria, my words exactly. Protest much. Jane, this is Daria. She's always protesting, even when things are going good for her. Yet you're somehow suspicious because she's protesting while you ask her to do something you know she doesn't doing.
Come on, why don't you want to help me, really?
What part of Daria's reasoning makes you think she's trying to hide something from you? She's acting very character right now.
Look, I'll help you, Kay. Just pick up blonde and let's go with it, all right?
Now you're talking.
That's called emotional manipulation, and it's not fair. Seriously, Jane, you're using Daria's want to avoid having conflict with you to make her do what she doesn't want to do, and that's a very low blow. Maybe on purpose, but still. Back at Jane's house, the girls are almost ready to get their hair project underway, but Daria is still resistant. Also, this moment has one of the funniest jokes in the entire show, but unfortunately, said joke contains a swear word, and I try to minimize those on my channel, so go look it up yourself.
What do I do?
Grab a hunk of hair and start painting.
Since they've got nowhere to go, Daria starts questioning why Jane was so passive, which we finally start to get an explanation to, well, every Jane is going through this episode.
I thought, maybe you were jealous of Tom.
I wish I had a mouth so I could do a spit take. What?
What?
Again, took the words out of my mouth.
And it's okay. Believe me, I'm sure if I were in your position.
What position?
Jane's not a dwarf, but she's digging a hole.
I just mean the way you're always accidentally on us and just happening to find yourself alone with him.
Holy dodongo, she's still going. Like, geez Louise, these are some seriously uncomfortable accusations, and it is bold of Jane to make all Daria has control of her hair. But at least Jane's communicating and being honest for this over the passive aggression she was doing earlier. Daria gets understandably upset at the accusations and shuts them down, claiming Jane is delusional. Conversation ends there, which is where transition to.
Daria, look, forget it. I imagined the whole thing.
You didn't mean that. And around Daria said she was scared she would mess up the project.
Oh, what did you do to me?
I told you I was good at it.
She didn't tell you that. No, this is Daria. She's not hair stuff nor most art stuff. You know this. And even if you didn't, she told you several times.
You did this on purpose, to take Tom away from me.
What?
It's pretty good. I will admit I had my doubts after seeing the first episode. The pacing and animation, I think Silver might actually be in pretty enhanced with this one. Of course, it's not panel perfect like our first, but when it comes to comparing it with the comic, the dark tone and captured easily. It's something plenty of, so I'm not to be comparing the anime webcomic. I'll also talk about how it compares to the novels too. The original publication that came out 3 years before the webcomic did. It's there plenty more lore related to the world of the Hunters within. So whether you're anime only or someone who read this video and the ones to follow will talk about also leveling how. It's a completely spoiler-free review of what the anime didn't show us. So if you want to see weekly videos, consider subscribing since there'll be plenty more. Let's get started. It's an interesting choice to start the anime with the teaser for the entire series, but what I think this means, or at least hope this means, is that they might be able to eventually get the teaser itself does.
Well, obviously this year what it is, obviously a year ago, but yeah, they do get to it.
To the core elements of solo leveling, so as introduction to this brand new world, it does its purpose in the hunters and the monsters, as well as the immense power both sides are capable of. Yep. The death was made apparent right from the get-go, and the battles were made clear as well. The thing is, this isn't the way that solo leveling actually started. It's an excerpt from 13th of the webtoon, about 90 chapters after 111 in reading the novel. Once again, hoping is so that they do one later, but if each episode covers 4 chapters each, that would put the arc right between episodes 18 and 22. So it definitely is possible if pacing continues the way it does, but at the very minimum it'd have to be done through a core season, and even then that would only bring to the arc. So, despite solo leveling being listed for 12 episodes only, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced its continuation shortly after that. Now, where solo leveling really starts is with the introduction of our world's weakest hunters. There were plans to localize his name to Fiction Shino, but that's a change only for the TV version of the anime.
Yeah, good. That's fucking good.
Though we have Crunchyroll and Aniplex is separately voiced with character names we know. Despite the website showing localized names different from the webtoon, the ones any of us overseas will be getting are the OG ones. To focus on the actual content of the story now, Sung Jin-woo is the weakest because he's pretty much just a normal human. Yes, he's an awakened hunter just like all the others, but with his strength being similar to that of an average human, and his wounds capable of healing just a bit faster, there wasn't much else to differentiate him from a non-awakened person. This would often lead to him getting injured, and more times than not it was for a pay that wasn't even worth it.
Yes, we know this, okay? You both tell us this, please. You tell us you stood off the difference between the anime story and how the manga story, or the manga, the webcomic. You tell me how did it also, you didn't say that. We compared the manga, we compared the comic to the anime, so the novel.
Why continue being Hunter then? Well, it certainly was because he liked to, but was instead because he had to. Because the Hunters Association had medical aid paid tied to their payroll, this was a massive help in funding his mother's medical bills.
We know this. Jeez, what is this video for? Is it people who also love it or have not? That you not say that's spoiler. Is that not spoiler free? Or is that how you said it's spoiler free? That is spoiler free. This is kids who rather watch anime. If you watch anime, why are you watching? There's no point in watching the video. So skip all the synopsis bullshit. Just get what you got before where you're playing. It's going to talk about synopsis and all that shit. You know why somebody's really nice. You know why someone's doing this. So why bother telling us? They can get on with it.
If it wasn't, then Sung Jin-woo had given up his hunter's license years ago. He had no problem going and getting an ordinary job, but it's just that it wouldn't support his sickly mother the way that hunting did. I mean, he was after all a 24-year-old man with no special talents or background. Combine this with a debt of several thousand USD a month, and what you get is a person whose only choice is to be a hunter. Now, when it came to Gates...
So he had no, like, did he have any, like, I know he's probably graduated, like, high school, but he didn't get, like, anything else after that? Like, no calls, no nothing. 'Cause he's 24. I forgot when his mom started to get ill, but the parents got ill. He could have gone to art degree or some shit. Or trade school in him or something. Like shit.
Such as these, it wasn't rare for everyone participating to know each other since the same hunters were almost always called upon. They were the
What
ones
about and also what about those who like clean up and shit? Are they like do they get health benefits too, or just simply the one who goes in the cavern to fight off the monsters?
Hunter Association would usually assign to this area. The number of jobs they were getting was slowly diminishing though, since the presence of guilds was making gate clearing this highly coveted commodity. You see, there were only so many gates to go around for everyone, and with each guild competing to be the ones to clear it, that meant less were available for the independent hunters tied to the Hunter Association. It had made for this interesting society in which the very act of dungeon clearing was now something people could make money off of, resulting in the creation of this new highly profitable industry.
Yes.
With every gate having the potential to bring in millions, it was only natural these private guilds be the ones to try and capitalize on it. It had gotten to the point
Yes, because obviously everyone knows that the gates are dependent on ranks and stuff like that. So it could be like if it's like an A rank, if you're an A rank gate, you get like all these people on levels. Not only depends on first come first serve, also the gates. And that's why some people can't.
Were the gates left over for the Hunter Association were the smaller low-rank ones not even worth doing for the guilds. Luckily, this meant those gates were usually easy and safe, but what it also meant was that there wasn't a lot of profit in them. No guild typically meant not a lot of money. Sure, that also
Yeah, I found that's pretty basic. You know, higher the risk, the higher the reward. That makes sense. We know this.
Difficulty would be low too, but even that wasn't known for sure in this business. There were still numerous hunters who carried
Here's the thing here. He's not talking about what the differences in like scenes and stuff are. He's not talking about that. Right now he's just doing basic synopsis on the basic world building of Soul Leveling. We most people who have watched the series or people supposed to know this stuff. I know this stuff. I don't need this.
With quite a bit of worry here. Such was the nature of taking a job like this. What quickly changed that mood to something better though was the arrival of Sung and the message he brought with him. You see, if the Hunter Association judged this gate to be one that Sung Jinwoo could handle, then that meant for sure that this was going to be an easy one. Everyone who's raided with him knew that him being there meant that things were going to be fine. Unfortunately, that didn't really apply to him, but for everyone else who knows they're stronger than him, they could dismiss their worries since anything he could do, they could do for sure. Now, to clarify more on the example they used to show how weak he really is, the E-rank dungeon he got injured in was an anomaly many didn't even think to be possible. You see, while normally raids are almost always completed with a healer, because no one had ever gotten injured in an E-rank dungeon before, the association didn't even think that a healer was necessary. They had decided to send in his party without one. So, when Sung Jinwoo
no, pause. They did have a healer. The freaking brown hair. That was she brown hair or auburn hair? I think she's auburn hair. The auburn haired girl. She's a healer. She's a B rank healer. What are you talking about? She was there. What are you talking about?
Inevitably get hurt. The lack of a healer meant that he would have to spend the next week in a hospital, recovering from a wound that no one else thought was even possible. That would be the first part of Sung Jinwoo's introduction. but it's before we continue into the dungeon itself that we would first get an anime original scene with the chairman and his associate.
Okay, there we go. Now we actually get on to the point of the damn video. Shit, man. All you be doing is you spend like 3 minutes doing the basic, talking about the basic role building on soul leveling. Fucking hell, finally. Shit.
He's not switching back to something a bit
But here's
more
the thing, though. Was the dumping necessary? Though? I don't think it was, because if we're gonna, I think it's better to find out naturally than have the chairman and he bucket dumps all the basic shit. I think it's better to start off with Sun and then him, like, as we find out more as Sun goes on with life, we find out more. I think it's better than that than just having the Charlie on the chairman and bucket dumping. I don't remember much of the first episode because I watched it a year ago. I watched it, but yeah, bucket dumping. All this, I don't think necessary. I think we are about it.
local is the D-rank raid that Sung Jin-woo is currently taking part in. A brief scene exclusive to the webcomic was the part where Song had asked whether he could be their leader or not. It wasn't something—
You know what's so funny? He hasn't talked about the novel once. He only talked about the webcomic and the anime. Can you please talk about the web novel and how does it compare to the anime? You only talk about the web novel, the original video.
something he declared like we saw in the anime, but was instead a role he offered to take since he was the most experienced. I mean, with a decade spent raiding and a high rank of C, it was only natural that he be the one to lead everyone. In fact, if not for the fact that he was over 60 years old, Song's skills as a mage would have landed him a comfy spot in just about any guild. He was a competent hunter everyone present knew that they could count on. Now, I know I mentioned how most of these hunters already knew each other, but there's a different reason why Sung Jin-woo and Lee Ji-hee are so familiar with each other. Normally the two wouldn't have ever interacted, but with her being essential and him, well, not, their paths were fated to cross more times than you would think. What I mean is that, with Joo-hee being the essential healer that she is, it was only natural she be present at every raid Sung Jin-woo was at. Since healing was the rarest type of magic out of all of them, the Hunter Association had no choice but to ask a B-rank like her to be present at every gate that opened up. Not the ones that the guilds were doing, but any left behind for the Hunter Association was one that Lee Ji-hee would be asked to be healer for.
Makes sense.
So, with Sung Jin-woo getting injured at every gate, what started out as a freak accident quickly turned into a recurring incident that made Joo-hee question whether he was even supposed to be there. There were about
I'm assuming that's from the web novel, but I don't even know. He's not talking about the web novel. He's talking about the web comic and the anime. Bro, if you don't say you're gonna talk about the web novel if you're not gonna talk about the web novel, because you're only talking about the anime and the web comic, though.
Instances in which Sung Jin-woo would have to be healed by her. By then, he was no longer at the point of being grateful for her saving him, but was instead now just feeling bad for always inconveniencing her. It was a burden on her that he truly felt apologetic for. This would lead Joo-hee to ask why it is he doesn't just give up, but since revealing personal details wasn't something he wanted to share right now, Sung simply said it was to keep himself from dying of boredom. His excuse was that being a hunter was all just a hobby to him. Of course,
ooh, this man's synopsising, though.
But with nothing more to say, the most he could do was just chuckle at her. Now, to quantify just how much money certain essence stones are worth, the E-rank ones are somewhere around $80, while the—
Bro, I don't need to know. I don't care. This is not the point of the video. The point of the video is to tell me what content did the first episode cut from the edit from the chapters. You're not. You all you tell me now is more world building. But I want to know about this. I can learn about this on my own. I don't need a video like this to tell me. That's not what I'm here for.
The rank 1 would sell for more like $8,000.
Yay.
Obviously, the low rank stones aren't enough to make a livable wage off of, but with the higher ranks bringing in thousands of dollars each, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you just how much profit there could be in something like a C or B rank dungeon.
Yes,
it's
obviously.
actually a small little calculation that we did on my stream the other day, twitch.tv/anynews_. We talked
I don't care
about solo leveling every Sunday.
Don't care.
But back to the story. It was shortly after that the extremely rare double dungeon was found, an occurrence so incredibly scarce that even with Mr. Song's 10 years of experience, never once had he ever come across one. There was no doubt that this was what it was though, since despite killing the boss that they thought was the boss, the gate still didn't show any signs of closing. It was a positive indicator that the real boss was still somewhere beyond this hidden passageway. The decision of choosing to explore it was quite the tough one, since even though the dungeon was easy up until this point, and even though it should technically remain easy all the way till the end, there was no guarantee that any of this would be easy. There were no guarantees when raiding a dungeon at all, and when it came to things like this, it really all depended on how much risk everyone was willing to take.
Oh, this is... Honestly, if he just talked about the content of this, will probably be less than 10, probably less than fucking 8 minutes long. This man is not talking about the cut content right now. He's talking about basic world building, and we already know that this is true because again, from the introduction, we see hunters. We saw people from the Hunter Association get bodied by fucking the fucking big red ant thingies. So we know that this job is risky. We don't need you to tell us this.
So, with a total of 17 hunters present, the votes were cast and a decision made. The potential riches awaiting them was worth the risk of whatever threats that they may come across. The passage turned out to be even longer than expected though, since even after 40 minutes of walking, nothing seemed to indicate that they were getting anywhere. If the path had continued for 20 minutes more, then the group would have had no choice but to turn back and leave. Reason being that after a boss is defeated and dungeon cleared, the hunters within only have 1 hour to escape it. If they don't, then the gate will close and they'd be trapped forever. So, if walking to the boss room was to take 1 hour or more, then the risk of getting trapped inside would be exponentially greater. Sure, they could run and make it back in less than an hour, but with time also being needed to scavenge and gather loot, they would definitely be cutting it close and risk getting trapped forever.
Oh my goodness.
Now, it's when the door finally showed up that the peculiarity of such an entrance really did make everyone nervous, like it was some sort of Dark Souls.
Now he's doing synopsis. This dude, okay. Because the reason why I was interested in this, because I really wanted to know what was the differences, but he's not telling me, so this video sucks.
Foggate. I mean, it was clear the doors were intimidating to everyone, and the odd nature of its presence definitely instilled doubt. Song could tell that this was the case, so before they could let their uncertainties get the best of them, he quickly flipped the conversation by exploiting a few key logical fallacies. Not only did he use his position of power to instill fake confidence, but he also applied guilt by saying he would continue alone if he had to. So, by being this elder veteran and saying he would enter regardless, he had simultaneously eased all the anxiety everyone was feeling, as well as coerced them into thinking they would be losing out if they didn't go.
Okay.
He had essentially single-handedly persuaded the group into walking towards their doom. Of course, the thought of becoming rich didn't help either, but that was more so hearsay from rumors. Sure, everyone says there's incredible treasures hidden within double dungeons, but the only real story was the small...
This dude sucks. Honestly, bro. This dude fucking sucks. Cause I always had him on my and this guy was wrong? Oh no. Yeah, my bad. I actually thought the face of my beat today off is prior. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing the price for Estus stones. I understand the best thing was that. Bro, you can literally just fucking search it up, bro. Thank you for sharing the price of the Estus stones, especially when I was reading the manga. I first understood this best train job. Legitimately, you could have done just read. You could have just looked at the fucking on the Soul 11 wiki, bro. I'm sorry, yeah, 'cause you always need fucking synopsising. Of course, you always in all positive comments, not talking about the only thing that he made a mistake on was the freaking stupid Steam part, not talking about anything else. Ugh, this video sucks. Cause you're not talking about, you're not barely talking about any content here, bro.
Guild who apparently grew massive.
He's not saying, oh, in this scene right here, this happens differently in the manga. See, in the web novel, he says this, this, and this. Oh, but in the web comic, this in the web novel is similar what he said in the web comic, this and this and this. But in the anime, he says this, 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 this. There's none of that here. All he's doing is basic synopsis and basic world building, talking about soul leveling. He's not like saying any much of differences. He only said two things that are different. Is that the raid started the beginning of the webcomic and the anime were different. The webcomic began with the fucking ants, the failed raid, and then this one was something else. Like, not talking about anything here.
They had supposedly found a double dungeon and used the profits from it to grow exponentially overnight. So, with that being what everyone was potentially walking away from, no one wanted to let Song get all the treasure for himself. And being that the way treasure worked when it came to raid was that, unlike essence stones which were procured individually, treasure was divided equally among everyone. What that meant was that even if Sung Jin-woo didn't do any fighting, by just being there at the end he would get an equal cut of any treasure that was found. The rest was mental gymnastics going towards how the monsters should be as easy as the earlier ones, and that was that we're choosing.
I don't think that was explained in the anime. You I'm not telling you, but it's telling you the difference here. Tell me what's going on. You think basic synopsis, bro.
Whether to enter or not. Now, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you just how massive the room they entered was, but to give you a true idea of its actual scale, it was about the size of 4 Olympic stadiums combined together. That's 320,000 square meters of open space, or a giant boss room with a diameter of 2
Pause. Where are you getting this from?
kilometers. The main statue was bigger than the Statue of Liberty, so in anime terms that's even taller than the Colossal Titan. All in all, it was a
Don't care.
And space that no one.
Okay, you're not telling me how did you even get that calculation? How? What do you do to get a calculation that the room is that big? And then like the calculation is you just sit the answer and then that's it. We're not going to ask you how did you calculate. No, you just not just think about it.
Imagined.
No, these videos that he's doing, if it's a video of Soul Leveling content is similar to this, this video is probably watching me doing something else, like a game or something, having in the background. Because this is nothing. Honestly, this is nothing. Like, okay, moving past this is big, I state, how do you get that calculation? Oh, you tell us? I don't fucking care, I don't care about the fucking room. I don't care about the size of the fucking statue. I don't care. Who needs info? This info means nothing. The room is big and the statue tall. Big whoop.
Now, I won't jump into the events of the disaster just yet, but what I mentioned before ending
just yet? You have like fucking like 1 minute left, bro.
Was the runic inscription Song had translated for everyone. These aren't words that can be found anywhere on Earth, but are instead a unique language solely discovered in dungeons. They're also not words any normal human can decipher, since only hunters capable of magic can read them. What I mean is that only the hunters who awakened to magic-related professions are capable of understanding the runic alphabet these words are written in. So, with that leading us towards the big cliffhanger, I think we can end things off here and pick things up next week. You can be sure to find another solo leveling video right here on Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, you suck. You told me nothing. All you told was basic world building and fucking synopsis and a couple of scenes here and there that would change. That's all you did. You suck. Jesus Christ, man. Let's see another video. And it's better be a proper one. I want to see what was the difference between the light novel, what was the difference in different adaptations. I want to hear them. I don't want to hear no basic synopsis bullshit. Fucking sucks, man. Like, geez, anyone that has but anyone that fucking wanna fucking watch the
You've heard
anime
it
could see
before, and
this.
I'll say it again, but this is what the first episode should have ended on. A prologue as captivating as it was entertaining. Despite knowing exactly what was going to happen, I still found myself entranced by the grim situation Sung Jinwoo found himself in. It was the part of solo leveling that, to me,
I don't fucking care. Get on to the damn video. Fucking hell, I don't fucking care. Get on to the damn video. Yes, go to web novel. That's what my fanfic's at. But let's go on to the fucking video.
anime.
Shit.
Episode 2, If I Had One More Chance, covering chapters 4 to 10 of the webcomic and chapters 4 to 7 of the web novel.
Okay.
This first little bit actually relates to the previous episode, but one of the biggest differences between the manhwa and anime here is the addition of this dagger for Sung Jinwoo during his raid.
Fine, he's doing the content menu. Fuck, that's so boring.
Something that he actually had available to him. Now, that may not seem like that big of a deal at first, but when you realize the implication is that...
Pause. What about the web novel? Oh, you're gonna talk about the web novel? Yes or no? Okay, if you're not, don't bring it up, honestly. You're not gonna talk about it. Because you're only talking about the difference between the manga and anime. You still watch... You still watch Beluga's trash takes on AOT? No. No, I haven't. No, I do not.
Every raid with no weapon at all. It really makes you understand just how courageous he's been. It's one to confront a literal demon when you can use a sword, but to do so with nothing but the hands that you were born with, well, that's a whole nother feat that requires more than just bravery.
Yeah, but all the other hunters have to fight too with the hands that they're born with. They're born to be as strong as they able to be, so they're fighting. So, like these ones right here, bro. These are just bums, but they're still fighting with the hand that they were dealt with, the cards they were dealt with.
It's one thing to confront a literal demon when you can use a sword, but to do so with nothing but the hands that you were born with, well, that's a whole nother feat that requires more than just bravery.
You can say that for any other hunter, or for almost any other hunter with him right now. Sure, they won that was born potential Sunjin for some like they weren't wait, what?
It was all because Sung was committed to saving as much money as possible. He never invested any into buying a weapon because to him he felt it would just end up breaking anyway. So as long as the only thing to break was always his body, Sung knew he could just get healed and keep going hunting again. It was a mindset that not only highlighted his commitment to saving money, but at the same time also showed just how much risk he was putting on himself.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Sung definitely isn't a professional fighter, so to find out that he was straight throwing hands with every monster he was up against, well, that makes his feats a lot more impressive no matter how weak he is. He was quite literally boxing for every essence crystal that he came across. This didn't really work in his favor with the other hunters though, since to them not only did this highlight Sung's weakness as a hunter, but the injuries he sustained while doing so also doubled the workload of their healers. He was very quickly viewed more as a nuisance than an asset, a low-rank tagalong that eventually became known as the weakest. Another subtle difference between the manhwa and the anime was the condescending look the statue quite visibly had over everyone. In the anime it was more this neutral, I'm just a statue type base, whereas every panel from the manhwa made it seemed like the statue was looking down on them. There was this clear disdain in its gaze here that I feel the anime didn't really capture.
Sir, what about the web novel? Is there any differences there? Did it describe something similar? What about the web novel? You gonna talk about that? You gonna talk about the web manhwa and the anime because they both visual and they're both a visual medium, and novels are not visual mediums. So is that why you're not talking about the web novel because they're not visual medium? Okay. Yeah, whatever.
For Weather Hunter, though, since to them not only did this highlight Sung's weakness as a hunter, but Blair's style was a whole emotion feel it perfectly, but the expression was a bit more intimidating. Now, that illusion was fired, of the 16 hunters alive, only 1 were. Had Sung reacted 1/100th of a second later, then he too would have been on that list of casualties.
Yes, we know that. Hell, stop with the synopsis. Get the freaking differences, please.
It was that he was about to get back up right after, but just before he could, that's when Mr. Sung prevented him. By using the one good arm he had left, he had forced Sung back down and ordered the rest to do the same. Now, I know that's an order we saw him in the end, but by having that additional part where he helps out Sung as well, it really goes to highlight just how much of a veteran he is. Despite losing his arm only a mere few seconds ago, he had quickly composed himself and started looking out for others. He neither descended into panic nor focused solely on himself, but instead continued to lead and focused on everyone else's survival. It was the true mark of someone who's been a hunter for over 10 years now. To continue speaking to that experience, the reason he knew this dungeon was A rank or S rank was because out of all the B rank dungeons he'd done throughout his career, not a single monster had ever been capable of one-shotting someone. It was a phenomenon he knew could only happen in the highest rank dungeons. Since he believed this one to be super easy though, one of the things he mentioned only in the manhwa was that he had thought 3 healers would be more than adequate for this, with one having just been vaporized though, another cowering far away in a corner, then their best Juhi incapable of doing anything anymore. It basically meant anyone who was injured like him was out of luck now. I don't think this was the fault of Songs for not expecting this, but perhaps at least one more experienced healer may have proved valuable here. At the very least, one who wouldn't crack under the pressure like this. There was a bit more freaking out for those who remained after this, then the runner Ju was revealed to be what's called a close combat hunter. These were the types of hunters who possessed far superior physical abilities to regular humans, and as such would always be the ones to jump right into combat.
Yeah, I mean, it's self-explanatory. We don't need this. I don't need this. It's so self-explanatory. Yes, close combat. You typically people who go close range are typically more physically gifted. Yes, we know that. This is basic RPG. You basic shit you look from an RPG, bro. I don't need this bullshit. Cut this out. I don't need the damn thing.
Sung Jinu was one of these as well, but unfortunately for him, he wasn't as blessed as all the other close combat hunters. Now, a subtle change specific to the novels after this was another beam attack that happened right after Sung stood up for the second time. We know this was him testing to see what would happen, but it was the fact it attacked again but only above a certain height that allowed him to reasonably deduce that staying low was the solution here. He was even able to determine that while low they could move as much as they wanted. The anime and manhwa only showed the statue's eyes start to glow, but I think that by having the statue fully attack again, it makes Sung Jinu's jumps in logic make a bit more sense. What I mean is that he was able to visibly see that the laser would only kill him if he—
nice. No, I'm glad you're talking about fuck. It was not about novels. It was just anime and manga.
Was above a certain height, thus reinforcing the notion that his previous assumption was true. This paves the path towards a slightly bigger change because it's here that Mr. Kim starts to be depicted rather differently. He wasn't nearly as passive as he was in the anime or manhwa, but was instead becoming increasingly aggressive the more dangerous things became. So, when Sung had suggested that everyone should bow, it was Mr. Kim who was the first to deny him. Sure, many of the other hunters started cursing him as well, but it was Mr. Kim who was without a doubt the most vocal about it. He had even gone so far as to say that if he could stand, he would go and punch Sung just for suggesting that. This was definitely a response fueled by rage, but for them who'd just lost 6 comrades to the statue, it was absurd to think that they could just disregard that and go and bow to it. Combine that with the fact Sung had no proof to what was essentially a guess, and the result was a group of people just not willing to cooperate. I mean, he was after all the weakest person there, and and it was until just recently that most, if not all of them, were looking down on him for that. It was only after Song had mentioned that he would do it that the rest would follow suit, albeit reluctantly. To them, the notion of possibly surviving was far more enticing than whatever prideful resentment kept them from doing so.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
initially
I
nothing
know
had happened the
this.
first time around, but that was because everyone
Cut this part out. I know this. Oh.
except for Juhi was bowing. As you would expect, she was stuck in fetal position and couldn't move regardless of what she wanted. She had forced Sung to have to reposition her himself, an act which would finally bring them into the second phase. A minor thing to note about the religious guy was that he wasn't the academic the anime made him out to be, but instead just a random guy who sung in his local church choir. Since that meant praise was something he was familiar with, he believed one of his church hymns might be the answer, resulting in him literally singing to the giant statue walking towards him. The statue had actually come to a full stop right before him, so as a sign that this might actually be working, the man had started singing both louder and more confidently. He had fully embraced the idea that this could very well be the answer. Of course, Sung knew that something was off, because if the rule was to praise the god standing before them, then it wouldn't make sense that hymns praising a Christian god would work instead. It was obvious the only outcome was the one where this person got stepped on. Sung did try to turn and help the next girl, but it was before he could even get close that Song would stand in front of him to stop him. You see, to Song it was way too late to do anything for her. The statue was clearly on a mission to kill everyone, and its increasing speed only went to make such a point even more obvious. I'm not just talking about a stroll into a moderately paced walk, but instead a walk into a full-on sprint. That's right, in the novel the statue was described to be running to everyone. It was pretty much as if the colossal titan was straight
I'm glad he's talking. I'm glad he's comparing. I'm glad he's not the novels. Shit.
up dashing towards them.
Don't care with
Obviously,
the Claws Titan.
Animating something like that would be rather difficult, but I think just imagining it gets the point across too. Now, a couple other subtle things to mention about the manhwa is the incredibly expressive faces of despair each of the characters were portrayed with. This was definitely a natural product of single panel versus fluid animation, but since we are comparing all cuts and changes here, I figure showing a few would highlight such a difference. The anime still definitely captured everyone's dread and despair perfectly, but to not show the manhwa's detail would be remiss on my part. There were also a few extra panels showing a lot of the other hunters dying, then Park's flashback was preceded by the fact that he wanted to live the most. It was a belief brought to life by the additional energy he channeled to make himself run faster. Fortunately, this brought him the farthest away from the giant statue first, but unfortunately for him, this also made him the target of the other ones. So, it was Park's death and the fact the giant statue was right on his ass that Mr. Kim would break down the moment he arrived at safety. They didn't show him get chased in the anime, but in the novels the statue was only 1 or 2 steps away from reaching him. He was without a doubt the next target chosen for elimination by it. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you just how stressful such a situation could be, but I'm also sure the relief of seeing the statue stop right in front of you would be equally as satisfying. This was the plethora of emotions Mr. Kim was going through. The statue would then shift its focus to the only 2 people left, and this would lead to Sung running blindly as fast as he could to get away from it. The reason he ended up at the shield statue was because he was so focused on the giant statue that was chasing him, as well as the amount of energy he was channeling into his legs in order to run faster, that he didn't even realize he was going in the wrong direction. Had he been paying attention to his surroundings too, then he would have noticed that there wasn't a single instrument statue left at all. This was the last thing on his mind though, as the recent attack from the shield left him teetering on the edge of life and death. It was a game he knew he was always playing, but it was this particular moment that he felt he would finally lose. This was neither mentioned in the novels nor the anime, but in the manhwa it was visualized through a spectral game of tug-of-war. Here we have Sung holding on to the thread of life, yet it's in this moment that it looks as if it's about to snap. So, as Sung called out to whatever god would listen, he would make it to the singing statue and end the second phase. This wasn't before getting stared down intensely by the statue though, since in the novels the giant god was very clearly angered by this. It seemed perturbed by Sung's persistent will to live, and as such expressed its discontent with a face significantly scarier than any it had before. Whatever disdain it exhibited before was now greatly magnified by the fact that Sung got to live here. It was a feeling made apparent by the intimidating stare it held for what seemed like forever. That brings us now to Juhi's futile attempt to heal Sung, which for the most part consisted of every bit of healing magic she had available to her. She was trying every spell she could possibly think of, despite knowing full well that only the higher ranked healers could regenerate limbs like that. So in actuality, all she was doing was pouring out mana, much to the point that it was taking a toll on her vitality now. This was portrayed mainly as bleeding and fatigue, but the way mana exhaustion was described in the novels was significantly worse than how they made it seem here. You see, not only was she unable to move in the moment Sung needed her most, but her lack of vitality became increasingly apparent through the bluing of her lips and the occasional body spasms. They were all side effects that came when someone overused their mana to near emptiness, symptoms that only worsened with her extreme exhaustion. So, I know the anime displayed her as going through it, but I think it is worth noting just how much she really was going through it. It leads us into another character who wasn't quite depicted the way they were in the novels. That of course being Mr. Kim again. I'd mentioned how with every phase he was becoming more and more aggressive. Well, it was here in the third that that aggression had come to its forefront. He had taken charge just like how he did in the anime, except the reason for it was because he knew no one could stop him. Since Song was incapacitated without his arm, that made Kim the strongest since he was up there at the top of the D ranks. It had left him feeling like he could force Song to be the sacrifice everyone thought they needed. I mean, he was after all the one that guilt-tripped them into opening the doors with him. Kim didn't trust that Song would actually follow through with it though, so as he walked slowly towards the altar in the center, Kim followed close behind, holding his sword to his back just in case. It was an act Sung believed to be the very height of cowardice, one that would have him curse his powerlessness, more so now than any time he'd ever felt weak before this. With this being the epitome of injustice, Sung knew that if he had the power to get up and stop Kim himself, then that's exactly what he would have done 5 times over by now. In fact, it was only 2 key things that were preventing him from getting up and trying it anyway. The first was the fact he was a whole rank lower and missing a leg, and the other was the irrational nature of Kim, which could very possibly put Juhi in danger. You see, there was a chance that if Sung was to get up and try anything, both him and Juhi could become Kim's targets next. Sung was fine with Kim getting hostile towards him, but putting Juhi in danger wasn't something he was willing to risk right now. Thus the reason now more than ever he hated how weak he was. Luckily, Sung didn't have to stay upset for long, since as soon as he saw a sacrifice may not even be necessary, his face lit up as he knew he could potentially save Sung now. He didn't have very long to think about it though, since with Juhi's condition getting worse, Kim's anger steadily spiraling out of control, then the other hunters quickly losing their senses to fear, it was clear not many more rational decisions were going to be made by everyone. So, Sung acted quickly to get everyone near the altar, and that's when 36 blue lights lit up around them. Each represented 1 minute of a 36-minute timer, and all signified the start of this final test of faith. To provide a bit more clarity on how this was a test of faith, the whole thing essentially came down to the false hope you could see versus the promise they couldn't. The false hope being the wide open door in front of them, and the promise being the ensured path of survival should they prove their faith successfully. It was a conclusion Sung had come to after taking in how the statue's lights and door reacted to them. This, combined with the fact the commandments always provided a way out, made him certain his path forward was the only one. So, when the first person left and the door closed a little bit, that's when Sung knew for sure that the door was a trap. Had they all left the zone when the door had opened, then the door would have closed fully and all of them been trapped forever. It was clear proof that staying put was the only right answer. Now, the thing is, with the statues moving closer and the blue flames still showing 30 minutes left, that was a long time spent trusting that Sung Jinwoo's assumption was accurate. Not only did they have to trust that he was right though, but they also had to trust that the people around them could do their jobs too. Assuming they were set free after those 36 minutes, they still had to keep their cool and maintain watch throughout all of it. So, the question for everyone then was, do I trust Sung and trust my comrades, or do I succumb to temptation and seek out freedom for myself? It was a question to which the answer would determine whether they could prove their faith or not. Would they trust the god killing them was also one who would let them go, or would they break their faith and look out for themselves? Would they trust their fellow hunters and have faith in their ability, or would they break that too and send them straight to their deaths? The whole thing was kinda like this messed up trolley problem. One where if you pull the lever you can save yourself, but by doing so you're also sending the trolley to kill another person. This was quite the interesting predicament, and it was very enthralling to see the way that everyone slowly but surely started leaning towards pulling the lever. The first girl just cracked under the pressure, but it was the second guy who left shortly after that did so because he could hear the statues moving behind him. Initially, he seemed on board with what Sung Jin-woo was saying, but the moment those statues started inching their way closer again was the moment he lost faith in everyone else and decided to save himself. This left only 4 now, but among those 4, 2 very important variables were present now. The first was Sung and the respect he'd earned by helping everyone survive, while the second was the indisputable fact that anyone could escape to safety now. This begged the question of faith versus survival again, which to Mr. Kim was something that he needed assurance on. You see, yes, Sung's theories may have been backed with multiple trials and various observable evidence, but the idea they would survive this trial now still wasn't 100% guaranteed. So, to Kim, who wanted nothing more than to survive himself, the certainty of his own survival outweighed the possibility.
Oh, now he's back to synopsis, boys. He's been synopsising for the past how long now? Jeez.
Of survival for the entire group, leading him to run, but not before that half-hearted thanks which fueled Sung's
Like, I can't really say anything, man, because, like, this is just mostly just synopsis, bro.
This wasn't shown in the anime, but it was in the manhwa that Sung would look like this as Kim ran away from them. He was essentially cursing his name for him having betrayed them. Now, the remaining 3 would discuss who would be left behind, and it was a surprise to find out that in the novels, Sung had actually considered Juhi. That's not to say that he was planning to follow through on it, but he did consider it an option just like all the others. If he did somehow choose to follow through on it though, then Sung knew he would have hated himself for the rest of his life. I mean, not only had she saved his life numerous times before, but the only reason she couldn't move now was because she had used all her mana trying to heal him again. So, as Sung would leave with Juhi in hand, it wouldn't be accurate to say Sung was satisfied being the only person left, but he also wasn't upset since he knew what could have been. What I mean is that even if he did make it out missing leg and all, his new life as a cripple wasn't one he could foresee himself being happy with. He wouldn't be a hunter and he wouldn't be able to get a job, so had he made it out, he wouldn't have been able to support his family the way that he wanted to. At least by dying, his mother and sister would get the $300,000 life insurance payout from the Hunter Association. A generous offer considering it was far more than what—
Pause, but, you really said that there were high tier healers that could regenerate limbs. If he left out of there, he could have gotten healed by one. He could literally one of the chairmen could have healed him. Could have told the fucking one of the high rank healers to fucking heal his leg or some shit.
he was worth as an E rank. The rest was Sung getting tossed around like a ragdoll, which, just so you know, was a lot more lengthy in the anime. But yeah, that's pretty much it for episode 2. I decided to include
synopsis, and some more synopsis for a bit of comparisons here and there, but mostly synopsis. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream. I'm done. Anyways, no, I'm not angry. I'm just tired, bro. 2 o'clock. I need to use the bathroom, and yeah, I'm done. So anyways, I'm ending the stream right here. I'm probably gonna continue writing off stream. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. I still need to put the schedule up. I still need to put the schedule for this week's for the last week's final streaming week, because next week I'm not gonna be streaming